All right, so get this. Stalin, George Carlin, and God walk into Stalin's office. Sounds like the start of a bad joke, right?
It does, doesn't it?
But the source material that we're diving into today uses this like a really bizarre scenario to explore something deeply relevant to all of us.
Absolutely.
The challenges and dangers of dealing with dissent, whether you're running a communist regime or just trying to keep the peace at a family dinner.
Yeah. You know what's so fascinating is how the source immediately throws us into this, like, tense atmosphere.
Oh, yeah.
Stalin's office, a symbol of power and control, becomes the backdrop for this, like, clash of ideologies.
And it gets heated pretty quickly.
Oh, yeah.
Stalin is totally obsessed with rooting out dissidents within the Communist Party. He sees them as wolves in sheep's clothing, a threat to his authority.
Right.
It's almost like he can't even fathom why anyone would question his leadership.
That's where Carlin comes in.
Yeah.
Injecting his trademark wit to highlight the parallels with a term that we hear so much these days.
Oh, yeah.
RINOs, Republicans in name only.
Yeah.
You know, it's a label used to essentially excommunicate politicians who don't toe the party line.
It's funny because Carlin suggests these like outlandish ways to deal with RINOs.
Oh, right.
Branding them as traitors.
Yeah.
Forcing public confessions. And it makes you realize how similar those tactics are to what Stalin was actually doing.
Exactly.
It's satire, sure, but it has this like chilling undercurrent of truth to it.
Oh, absolutely. It exposes this primal urge to control, to silence anyone who rocks the boat.
Yeah.
And it makes you wonder, can any system, whether it's a political party or even a family unit, truly thrive when dissent is stifled?
And then God steps into the conversation. Now, the source doesn't get all preachy or theological, but it uses God as this voice of reason, reminding Stalin and all of us about the importance of free will.
It's such a powerful counterpoint to Stalin's paranoia.
Yeah.
This idea that you can't force everyone to think the same way.
Right.
That trying to control people's thoughts and actions will ultimately backfire.
Carlin, being Carlin, then drops this bombshell.
Oh, yeah.
He points out that despite the massive ideological differences between Stalin's Russia and the United States, the tactics for dealing with internal enemies are shockingly similar.
It's almost like a universal playbook for silencing dissent.
Yeah.
Fear, intimidation, propaganda.
Yeah.
The tools might change.
Right.
But the underlying goal remains the same.
Control the narrative, control the people.
Exactly.
And that leads us to the big question that the source throws out there.
Okay.
What are you going to do about your RINOs? Now, it's directed at Stalin in the story, but it's clearly meant for us to chew on. Think about it. Do you ever label people who disagree with you as RINOs or some other equivalent? Do you shut down conversations instead of engaging with different viewpoints?
It's so easy to get caught up in those us versus them dynamics, especially in today's world.
Yeah.
But the source is prompting us to examine our own tendencies towards control.
Right.
To ask ourselves, are we truly open to hearing dissenting voices, even when they challenge our deeply held beliefs?
Yeah.
I mean, think about it.
It's tough.
Yeah, it's like the source is holding up a mirror, you know, forcing us to confront how we deal with disagreement in our own lives.
Right.
And let's be honest, it can get uncomfortable.
Totally. It's so easy to fall into that trap of like labeling people, putting them in these neat little boxes.
Exactly.
You see it all the time in politics, religion.
Oh, yeah.
Even just arguing about which streaming service is better.
It's just like human instinct to categorize, to draw lines in the sand.
Yeah.
We want to belong, to feel like we're part of a group. And sometimes that means defining ourselves by who we're not.
And that's where things can get dangerous, right?
Absolutely.
Because when you start seeing everyone outside your group as the enemy, you stop listening.
Yeah.
You stop trying to understand.
You create these echo chambers.
Exactly.
Or everyone agrees with each other.
Right.
And dissenting voices are either silenced or pushed to the fringes.
Yeah.
It's like fertile ground for extremism to take root.
Think about how many times you've seen someone get canceled online.
Oh, yeah.
For expressing an unpopular opinion.
It's like we've lost the ability to have civil discourse.
Totally.
To disagree without resorting to personal attacks and character assassination.
The source doesn't shy away from the potential consequences of this.
Right.
It's not just about hurt feelings.
No.
It's about creating a society where critical thinking is stifled.
Right.
And empathy is replaced with fear and suspicion.
It's a scary thought.
Yeah.
But I think it's important to acknowledge those darker impulses within ourselves.
Yeah.
If we want to break free from these cycles of labeling and silencing, we have to be willing to look in the mirror and ask some tough questions.
Absolutely. The source challenges us to be more self-aware.
Yeah.
To recognize our own biases.
Right.
And how they might be influencing the way we interact with the world.
So what's the antidote to all this?
Right.
How do we cultivate a more open and tolerant society?
Yeah.
Where disagreement is seen as an opportunity for growth rather than a threat.
It starts with listening.
Yes.
Genuinely listening to those who hold different views.
Right.
Not just waiting for your turn to speak, but trying to understand their perspective, even if you don't agree with it.
Absolutely.
It's about being willing to change your mind.
Yeah.
Admitting when you're wrong. I know that can be hard.
Right.
Especially when you're deeply invested in a particular belief.
Yeah.
But that intellectual humility, that willingness to question your own assumptions is crucial for personal growth and societal progress.
And it's about having the courage to speak up.
Yes.
When you see injustice, even if it means going against the grain.
The source celebrates those who dare to challenge the status quo.
Right.
Who refuse to conform just to fit in.
You know, it's interesting.
Yeah.
The source never says this is the right way, this is the wrong way.
Right.
It's not about endorsing a particular ideology or political party.
Yeah.
It's about something deeper.
Right.
Something that transcends those labels.
It's like the source is saying, hey, look, whether you're a communist dictator or a soccer mom,
right.
we all have these tendencies to want to control things, you know, to shut down dissent.
Absolutely.
It's a human flaw, not just a political one.
And that's a powerful realization.
Yeah.
Because it means we can't just sit back and point fingers at the other side.
Right.
We all have work to do. Internally and within our own communities.
This deep dive started with this crazy premise, Stalin, Carlin, and God shooting the breeze.
I know.
But it's really made me think about how I approach disagreement in my own life. Do I really listen to understand, or am I just waiting for my turn to talk? Do I write people off because their views are different from mine?
Those are the questions the source wants us to grapple with.
Yeah.
It's not about providing easy answers, but about prompting self-reflection. And that's where the real value of this deep dive lies. It's not just about learning some new facts. It's about using those insights to become more thoughtful, more engaged citizens.
You know, it's funny. We often think of free speech as this big abstract concept, but this source brings it down to earth.
Yeah.
It's about the everyday choices we make, how we treat people who disagree with us.
Exactly.
Whether we're willing to have tough conversations, whether we value curiosity over conformity.
And that final question the source poses.
Oh, yeah.
What are you going to do about your rhinos? It's almost like a challenge. Saying, okay, you've been given these insights. Now what are you going to do with them?
It's a call to action. To be more mindful of our own tendencies towards control.
Absolutely.
To be more open to dissenting voices. To foster a culture of respectful dialogue. Yeah. Even when it's hard.
Because ultimately, the health of our society depends on our ability to engage with different viewpoints, to challenge our own assumptions, to embrace the messiness of debate.
So as you go about your day, think about those rhinos in your own life. Yeah. The people who challenge your thinking, who make you uncomfortable. Right. Maybe, just maybe, they have something valuable to teach you.
And remember, the next time you find yourself wanting to shut down a conversation, take a breath, listen, and ask yourself, what can I learn from this?
Right.
Because embracing that discomfort, that's where real growth happens.